What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and in this video I'm going to talk about California Custom Knife Show. This is a Spring 2023 show. I just got back from it a few hours back. The video is not going to go up for a couple days because I already have another video scheduled, but I wanted to talk about it while it was kind of still a fresh experience, still had everything on the table, and just kind of mainly go over the haul, but talk quickly about the show itself. It's a local show to me, probably 20 minutes away. There's a smaller show, Cal Knives, that's coming up that's a little bit closer to me, but this is a pretty close by and decent size. It's not huge. You can walk it in around an hour if you're kind of stopping and looking at all the booths and really taking your time, but it's a pretty small show, the maybe 40 booth. And so I spent a good 4 or 5 hours there today and had a lot of fun. I've been to this show before and I've always been in and out in about an hour. And so it was really cool to really take the time to talk with different exhibitors and different people at the show, just mingling with people online. I talked to people about, what they picked up, and I also met with some people that I've interacted with either on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and so it was really cool to put faces to names and really just integrate myself into the community a little bit more, and it made the show a lot more enjoyable. I enjoyed the previous shows, but it was really just there shopping, but spending time just talking to people made it a really good time. But for the most part, I'm just going to be talking about what I picked up at the show. I'm going to do videos on the knives and that sort of thing, and some of this other stuff may appear in videos, but really had everything on the table, so I figured I could put together a video of what I picked up and before I move everything off into somewhere else. And so I'm going to start off with the swag. I'm going to skip the stickers, business cards, brochures, and magazines, catalogs, that sort of thing, just for the sake of being a little bit more succinct. But starting with the kind of more substantial swag is the patches. I'll start off on the bottom left here. We got this really cool hand from Tor Knives. They're based out of San Diego. I've done one video on one of their knives, the Tor Chasm R, and they didn't have a lot of folders. It was mostly fixed blades at the show, but I did get a catalog from them, so definitely curious to see what's new with them this year because I haven't really looked at them since picking up that last knife. But really love this patch. It's a little bit larger than what I normally pick up, but I think it looks so cool. Next up is, and this is a freebie. I'm not really going to talk so much about cost. I'll mention a little bit on the patches just because I know which ones I paid for and which ones were freebies. But for the most part, I took cash. I went in with a little bit of a budget and didn't plan on using my card, so I wasn't keeping track of individual costs so much, just how much I spent and how much I had left. And so I don't necessarily know the cost of everything, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on cost. Next up, we have the Monterey Bay knives. I did pick up a knife from them as well, and this was another freebie, embroidered kind of a little bit over an inch in diameter probably. Looks really good, and yeah, I kind of went with the knife. I also got a bunch of stickers from them. And so just kind of a pretty simple one, but a cool one that goes with something that I picked up. Next up was the Shirogorov knives patch. This one I had to buy. It was really cheap. I don't remember, maybe $3, $4, $5, something like that. It was really cheap, but I didn't pick up a Shirogorov at the show. I had the opportunity to. The way it worked is when you got in line, the VIP passes got you in an hour early, and you could enter the lottos as whatever order you got in line, and so you could only enter one of the lottos. I had the opportunity to get the last one of the show exclusive Shirogorov. It was $1,550, and so that was a little bit above what my show budget was, and I didn't really want to blow it all on one item. It was really beautiful looking knife, but really didn't want to kind of blow all my money right at the beginning of the show, and also really wanted to get my first High-Tex chip, and so I used my lotto band for High-Tex over Shirogorov. But the person in line in front of me did get one, so I was able to take a look at it and just kind of see that a little bit more close up, but didn't end up picking it up. Now next up is one that technically I bought, but it was bundled with the chip. So this is the High-Tex leather patch, a little bit larger than your typical Ranger Eye, more kind of standard 2x3-ish size. And this goes with the chips that they had available. So they had 2 different color Kraken chips available when I got to the front. There might have been more in the beginning, but if you bought one of those, you got this patch. And so I think later on, once they ran out of the chips, they were selling the patch separately, but I don't know what it cost. They had a bunch of different colors as well. I went with the green just because I thought that one looked really cool. It doesn't actually match the chip that I got, but I just like the look of it, so went with green. Now this next one's a little bit interesting. If you're familiar with Smash Brothers gear, you'll know what this one is. If you're not, then it might not make a lot of sense. But this was not from an exhibitor at the show. This was from an admin on their Facebook page. And so he had posted that he'd be at the show if you see him to stop by and grab one of these from him. And so these are patches that aren't for sale, and they're really, you're not supposed to buy them or resell them. They're supposed to be given them or earn them. And so they're kind of like a share the love and meant to be like a good deed type thing. And so I'm gonna catch and release this one. I really love this patch, but I was supposed to meet up with Alan, who some of you may know is What's in My Pockets, half of Inky EDC, and he really wanted this patch, and so I told him I'd give him this one since he wasn't able to make the show. He was planning on meeting me there, but at the last minute something came up, and so I'm gonna pass this one along because I feel like that was the intention of these patches anyway. Hopefully I'll get one down the line, but for now I'm gonna pass that one along. Now sticking with the swag but getting out of patches was this ProTech coin, which I thought was really cool. They had it at their booth. I asked them how much it was just because I figured it wouldn't be too expensive, and I'm a big fan of ProTech. Can always use more coins. I like carrying challenge coins just for fun. And so asked them how much it was, and they said they're free, you can have it. And so they gave it to me. And I did pick up a knife from them as well. And so was super excited about this coin. I ran into Vu, who some of you may know from his position at Kaiser. And he had picked up the same knife I did. And so I mentioned, like, did you grab the coin? And he hadn't. So he went back to the booth and just asked them, you know, am I able to grab one of the coins? They said yes. He's asked if he can get 2 more for friends. One of them he was talking about me. One was someone else he had met up with at the show who had also bought the same knife. And so they gave him 3. He had forgotten that I already had one. So I ended up with 2. And I do have plans for this one as well. I'm sure you can probably resell these. I'm sure there's a lot of fans of ProTech that want them, but same thing. I'm not really someone who's picks stuff up to resell it, so I have a plan to give this one away as well, and still gonna pass this one along. That's why this one's not opened and the other is. This one I'm keeping, but the other I'm gonna pass along. But I thought that was a cool coin. Now, continuing in the swag, getting a little bit bigger, was the High-Tech's Gear mug. So they had 4 different colors, or 2 different colors, 2 different sizes, so 4 different mugs total in red or blue in this model, or the slimmer, kind of taller model. And really love these. I kind of wish I would have picked up all of them. I didn't really have a way to carry them when I picked them up. I didn't have a bag at the time. I had a sling, but this was obviously thicker that you wouldn't put inside the sling bag. And so later on I got a bag from something I bought, and I should have went back and grabbed some of these, but only got this one. It has the spiral on the bottom that you may recognize from some of the High-Tech chips, if you're familiar with that brand. And so I thought these were really cool, and always love coffee mugs. You can never have too many of those. So picked that up. Also relatively cheap, but don't remember the exact price. And then one of the main things I really wanted to pick up at the show was the High-Tech Gear chips. I've been trying to get them through their shenanigans. They do like lottos, first come, first serve, post a picture with this. And just either my timing was too slow, or I haven't gotten lucky on the lottos and haven't been able to pick one up. Really didn't want to pay the secondary prices on them, and as always, I like to try and get them from the dealer if I can. And so I was able to secure 2 of them. The first one being this Ultim Delta chip. They come in these cool cases that look like a deck of cards, but inside you have some foam. And so got the Ultim Delta. Big fan of Ultim. They had a couple different ones. I really want the Stay Salty one. That one was not in stock by the time I got to the front of the line, but they had a couple different Ultim ones that I could choose from. Went with the Delta, and I think it looks really good. Now, next up we have another chip from them. This was the Royal Kraken. They had 2 colors when I got to the front. The other one was more of a yellow color. Don't remember the name of it, but it was basically yellow. I went with this purple one. That's the Royal Kraken. Think it looks really good. And this one's a metal one, so more the traditional chip. I'm glad I was able to get kind of 2 different types of chips. One thing I really do like about the Ultim though is that it has kind of a more traditional sound. So when you're stacking the chips, it sounds a lot like if you're stacking actual poker chips. And so I really like that. I obviously don't have 2 metal ones to stack together to see what that sound compares, but I was really satisfied with that sound. So if you're not into High-Tech gear, you're probably like, what is this? They're basically just challenge coins. They're just fancier and cooler and modeled after poker chips. So that's it for the swag. I'm gonna move on to knives now, but I have one that's a little bit in between. It's a knife, but also not a knife, and that is from Mummert Knives. This is their credit card knife. The corner of this is sharpened. You can see one of the edges on the corner is sharpened up. This is a titanium card, but it's got a carbonized edge, so it can hold an edge, because titanium's more chippy, it's not gonna hold its edge. But they carbonize it so it will, and then they put these really cool designs on there. There's a bunch of different designs to choose from. Really like this one, so we went with this. The back's also a different design. I think they were mostly similar. I don't know if they were exactly the same, but the backs seemed like they were pretty similar, but really chose it for the front of this card. They just did a more discreet one that's actually supposed to look like a credit card, and at a glance it's passing, but if you inspect it at all, you'll know that it's not a real credit card, but I thought that was cool as well. These are sold out online, so I was glad I was able to grab one, since I follow him on Instagram and have been eyeing him for a little bit, but I'm curious if he's gonna take the leftovers and put them online, or just kind of roll them over to the next show. But thought this one was pretty cool. Also wasn't super expensive. Again, don't remember the exact price, but it wasn't insanely pricey. And so I thought that one was fun. Now on to the knives. I picked up 3 knives, and I'll start with the Monterey Bay knife, since I already mentioned that I picked one of those up. So this is the mini old guard, and this one I was also surprised by the price. I wasn't planning on getting this one. The other 2, I kind of had an idea that if I was able to grab them, I would. And so this was the only kind of unplanned one. And I stopped by the booth, picked it up. They were running out. I did want a sea otter if I was able to get one. I did not have any left in stock by the time I went there. This was the 3rd booth I went to. And so by the time I finished High-Tech's and then Pro-Tech, all of the sea otters were gone. So you probably had to go there first if you wanted one. But was really surprised by this. It just feels amazing, and was also surprised at the price on this one. It was definitely lower than I was expecting. It's got a really light detent, but it feels like the blade just doesn't want to be in the handle. It's so smooth, so just kind of snappy. It just flies out of there, and so it's just a really satisfying experience. Feels like it should be much more expensive than it was, and really just loved it. And so ended up picking this one up a little bit unplanned, but still fit within the kind of show budget that I brought along. And so we'll end up doing a video on all of these knives down the line, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about them, but did want to kind of include them in the haul, obviously. So next up was one that I had planned to go to. This is from Knife Standards. He's got a channel here on YouTube, and this is the RR. It's a model that is first model, but dedicated to his father, who had passed away, but had encouraged him to make a knife of his own, and so he did make a knife. He has a second one that he's teased on his Instagram, had at the show as well, that he's kind of prototyping, but this is his first design, and had a bunch of different variations that were really cool. I almost went with a Cerakoted one that had hardware that was red and looked pretty similar to this one. But this one was actually a 1 of 1, and so ended up grabbing this version just because I liked the way it looked best. And so the difference on this one from the ones that you can order on the site was that the blade was bead blasted with that mirror finished edge. This was done by Brian over at Transparent Knives, and so just thought it looked really good and unique, being that it was 1 of 1, and just a really cool knife that I've wanted to check out. I was really surprised by the size of this. It's a much bigger knife than I was expecting, and so super smooth as well, but really cool knife that I've been wanting to check out anyway, so might as well grab one at the show, handle them, check out different versions, and so did get that one. Now last up as far as knives go was one that I was searching out. They had 2 show exclusives from Pro-Tech, and I already have a Malibu. I wanted to look at both of them, but this one kind of really blew the other one out of the water for me, so I probably partially because it's a new knife to me, but honestly just really loved it once I got it in my hand. So picked this one up. This is the Mordax. It's also a show exclusive. There were 50 of them total, and it has this in-house honeycomb pattern on both sides of the scales, and then that button lock is an abalone, or abalone, don't actually know how that's pronounced, but spell abalone inlay, which looks really good. Hopefully that picks up well on camera because it looks amazing. It's got a magna cut blade, and you have on the back CCKS 2023 number 22 of 50, so they are numbered. This is a prototype. It's likely that they will eventually do more of this specific release, but at least the initial 50 were numbered and labeled. And so that was a pretty cool thing. A lot of people actually ended up with this. Obviously, it could have only been 50 of them, but I feel like I interacted with at least 10 different people who picked this up at the show. So it was definitely a popular one, and for good reason. It feels amazing, and I've been wanting to pick up a Mordax anyway. They're almost always sold out online. When retailers get them, they sell out immediately, and so it was good to be able to pick one up in person. And I actually picked up my first ProTech at a CCKS show as well, and so kind of appropriate there. But that's everything that I picked up. A lot of fun, had a really great time. Like I said, the kind of shining moment for the show, so to speak, was really just the interaction more so than what I picked up. I feel like I got a lot of really great things, and I'm excited about everything that I grabbed, but really just enjoyed kind of interacting with the community, and hopefully I can do more of that. I'm trying to do some meetups with people that I know are in my area outside of EDC, but then also Cal Knives is coming up. I'm going to try and go to that and kind of coordinate with people to meet there as well. But if you're in the Southern California area, definitely reach out to me on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. My email's in the YouTube About section as well if you don't have Instagram. But let me know what you think of my haul, if there was anything you saw from CCKS that I didn't pick up. I do have a couple. I didn't do a lot of content there. Honestly, I was really just enjoying the show, so I didn't film much. I did a couple just short recordings, and I might upload as shorts at some point, but really didn't do like booth interviews or anything like that because it was a one-day show and I wanted to spend that day really just enjoying the show. But let me know what you think of the haul, and if you saw anything else that was cool at CCKS that I should try and look up, and really anything else you want to comment as well. But thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and as always, I hope you have a great one. Take care.